almost on. The lights are going to come up.
Broadway.
Here it comes.
This is
Broadway.
us. Oh, there we are.
Remember me to Harold Square. Tell all the boys at 42nd Street that a short tribute to the Tony Awards. I don't know if you folks watched the Tony Awards. They were very amusing.
Hugh
They were
Jackman.
good. Hugh Jackman did a very entertaining job on it, and the competition was the Miss USA pageant, so it wasn't hard to choose. That and some stupid basketball game. So, I mean, there wasn't much on television last night, but now you have the good fortune to be watching the fun show here at Big TV.
Here.
Here, right here. That's where it is. It's right here. And behind the keyboard is our host, our producer, Michael Sallen.
That great pianist. Yeah.
Our
plays with
great
his
pianist.
thumbs.
Yes,
Okay.
that's true.
Okay.
And we have Kiera Miner.
That's me.
And I'm Arch O'Riley, and this is The Fun Show.
Everybody, take note of Arch's haircut.
Okay.
It is fabulous.
There's a lovely thing if you're a member or on the list here at Big TV. You got an announcement of the summer season of programs and things, and they are promoting the Fun Show on it.
Right.
Look in your email; it may be there. And if you're not, you should contact the folks at Big TV and say, "Hey, put me on your info list and let me know what's going on."
Very good.
I have just one more thing I want to alert people to. One of my favorite stores, the one that bails me out when I get to the end of my Christmas list every year, Wild Goose Chase down in Coolidge Corner, a wonderful, wonderful craft and gift shop, is changing hands because the owners are going off to spend more time with their very talented daughter, Grace Kelly, the jazz saxophonist.
Who is terrific.
She's
No question.
phenomenal.
She's marvelous.
And
She really
they're
is
having a wonderful sale, 20, 40, 60% off everything in the store.
Are they eating it? Are they serving any food or anything?
They're not. They're just serving bargains.
Okay. All right.
But
If they were serving food, though, you'd be down there in a second.
down there.
And maybe they want to rethink this, Arch. You might want to tell them to
tell them put up some
serve
food
yeah,
for
put
Michael.
up some food.
Well, what they wanted me to tell you folks was that they've in fact sold the store to somebody who they are training to follow the same general philosophy of the store. And in fact, they're even going on a buying trip for their next inventory there with them. So I am relieved to say the Wild Goose Chase is not going to disappear, and your holiday shopping is saved.
And yours is.
Mine,
'cause
most
clearly,
importantly.
you were really concerned about
Actually,
this.
I just did a lot of holiday shopping at 60% off. So
Nice.
Well, President Sisi made the grade in Egypt. He's in charge. He was a general. He stepped down. He got
President
rid of Morsi.
Sisi.
Okay.
Sisi or
His
Susi?
name is Sisi.
Sisi.
How do you spell it?
Susi. S-I-S-I. But he's got those 3 or 4 other names too.
I don't know. Could a guy named Sissy get elected in a democracy? This makes me
You know,
worry.
in another country,
I kind of liked
absolutely.
it, you know. I mean, I wouldn't bully this guy. You know, he's big and tough looking, and
Okay.
I'd leave him alone.
He may be named Sissy, but you don't think he looks like a sissy.
Exactly.
He's in favor of inclusiveness, which I like very
Okay.
much.
Or he says.
Well, he threw out the
That's his
the
marketing.
Muslim Brotherhood. And
Yes,
he got
he
rid of
certainly did.
Morsi. Okay. Which is, you know, these are
things
things.
needed to happen.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay. Now, in Texarkana, Texas, and Texarkana, Arkansas.
Which is separated by an imaginary line called
Right.
the state border.
Okay.
But on the homeless people on the Texas side are worse off than the homeless people on the Arkansas Texarkana side.
But here's the unbelievable part.
Well,
They won't move across the imaginary line.
why won't what's available in Arkansas?
Well, Medicaid for one thing.
That's the biggie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they get sick in the Arkansas side, they go to a hospital.
Right.
And they
But
can-
not in Texas. They don't have Medicaid in Texas.
They don't have Medicaid in Texas.
Another thing to hold against Texas.
Well, they
I have a long list, so I'm just going to add that
It
to
starts with 2 words. Rick Perry.
it. Is that all right? I think
Brilliant.
he goes
He's
back
brilliant.
further than that. But
He's quite a nice guy, though. I like him. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
so do you want to
Yeah.
lead the people
I
from
saw him over at your house on
Texas?
Saturday.
Yeah. I'm
Taking
teaching
out
him,
your trash for
I'm
you. It was
teaching
very
him
nice
all
of him.
about the people who are secretaries in Obama's cabinet, so he can name them if he has any problem. If he decides to run for president again, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Then there was the Vatican summit, which I think we should have mentioned. We should mention
The
that.
What happened?
Vatican Summit.
Yeah.
Well, what it was is that the Pope,
Okay.
Invited.
I like the Pope.
what's his name? Francis.
Frank.
Francis.
Pope
Frank.
Francis.
Pope Frank
I don't think he likes Frank.
managed to get a few Middle Eastern leaders into the Vatican garden to pray together and talk together.
In their own language.
However, notably,
What happened?
Benjamin Netanyahu was not there,
No. He had,
So-
but he had Perez, the president.
which
He still had
is
enough of.
totally
Oh,
irrelevant.
Shimon is about 89.
Yeah, right.
It was the point of it. It was the principle of
Well,
it.
it was a
That's
nice
really
effort.
what
It's
it
just,
was
you know,
about.
he
I
had
mean, you
that,
can't
yeah,
get
it's
100%
a nice
every
effort.
time.
Mahmoud Abbad, he was there. Okay, whatever it is. Anyway,
Well, listen, you've forgotten California Chrome.
that's right.
How could we forget California?
California
That is
Chrome.
the only current event that I actually have under my hat today.
Well,
Finished.
tell us about
It's
it.
very interesting. They called it finished tied for 4th. Horse didn't look like a tie to me, but I guess
Well,
it
I
just
heard
went
that the
up and-
argument was that the winner didn't run in the other 2 races.
He did-
Yeah,
And
well,
so there
they-
was some big uproar by the and I don't disagree with that.
I don't
I
either.
think
I
that
don't.
if you're going to pit him against, why would you put a fresh horse and then give, I don't know. It
Except-
just,
I think you're right.
Well,
I-
except for the fact that that's the way it's always
always
Yes.
been done.
And it's so
And
hard to get a Triple
so-
Crown
Yeah.
winner.
Well, it does appear that way. However, he spent most of today starting on one of the morning shows, Good Morning America or something,
owner?
apologizing to everybody.
everybody
It was
was.
amazing. He had a list
Really?
I know.
longer than this. I apologize to my wife. I apologize to my
Yeah.
partners. I apologize to the other
Really?
trainer.
I think he was
apologize.
right. Everybody that heard what he
Yeah.
said agreed.
politics, though.
Everybody lost
Politics,
money
he
and they
had to,
agreed.
yeah.
Obviously, he had
Yeah,
to had to go out and
to
apologize.
apologize.
They were so sure. They were so sure that that horse was going to win that they were actually, for the very first time, printing the horse's name on the pari-mutuel tickets
Really?
instead of horse 2 race 1. It said California Chrome on the pari-mutuel ticket. People were buying tickets just to frame, not to cash in, just to
Wow.
frame.
And then there's the
Hey,
rampage.
$2 souvenir. What do you want?
Hey, why not? I mean,
There's
what's the harm in that?
The bloody dumb rampage of those 2 people
In
Where?
Las
Las
Vegas,
Vegas.
California. Yes.
I'm not aware of this one. Fill
Oh,
me
this
in.
is terrible. They killed 2 policemen. Were having lunch in a pizza place.
A couple of these anti-government survivalist militia man
and a
woman,
woman.
not very old,
No.
20s, 30s.
Yeah.
They went into a restaurant. They shot 2 cops who were having lunch and
And
had.
they took their guns and ammunition.
Then
too.
they crossed over into a Walmart
nuts.
store.
Listen.
They killed somebody in the Walmart, and then when the police responded, they were in the back of the Walmart store. She shot him, and then she shot herself.
So,
But the civilian who got shot in the Walmart store, he was an armed civilian,
Okay.
and he attempted to confront the guy, but he didn't apparently realize that she was with him.
Okay.
So he drew his gun on the guy, and she shot him dead.
Wow.
She shot him.
Which
dead.
just shows that perhaps there would have been casualties at the Aurora movie theater, even if they'd all been armed, contrary to what the NRA says.
Yeah.
But that was bad. Now, there's some speculation that these people may have been at Bonner's Ranch last month.
There could have been less casualties at that theater if somebody had been armed, though. If somebody was,
Highly unlikely, my dear.
You think that that many people would have been taken out if somebody in the audience,
He
you
only
know?
fired for 23 seconds. I don't think anybody would have found their gun in their purse before he was done.
It's pretty tough. Yeah.
They might have been able to take him out, though.
Well,
Well,
they did take
but
him
I
out,
don't.
Yeah.
But not saving
Not enough
anybody
to
in
save.
the process.
No, under those circumstances,
So
fair
the
enough.
casualty
Nope,
rate would have been one more.
fair
Governor
enough.
Christie
Okay.
was saved a lot of trouble
What?
about 3 years ago. It was in a New York Times story. I saw it. His appointee, Mr. Baroni, who was the head of the
We
New
call
York...
this a segue.
I would say I thought that was just pure interruption.
No. The head of the New York and New Jersey Port Authority bought 131 acres on the Bayonne, New Jersey harbor.
Why?
Bayonne.
Yeah.
Barney's hometown.
Right.
Why?
It is
Why?
Barney Frank's hometown.
and he
That's why he did
paid
it?
way over the assessed valuation.
Oh yeah.
235 million. But the key to this thing,
What
according to the
transportation
reporter,
depot did they put in there now?
that $235 million, nothing. It remains vacant, undeveloped.
Really?
And Bayonne was going bankrupt at this time, and this thing bailed them out.
Oh, he bought it with taxpayer money.
Oh,
Oh, I
there's the
thought he was
catch.
making an insider trade on his own. No,
Port Authority bought it.
in other
you
words,
know.
this was a bailout for Bayonne.
And for the governor too. Governor Christie didn't get hung up. What was he doing about this? If Bayonne went up belly up.
When was this? Has he been
3
governor
years
that
ago,
long?
4 years ago. Okay.
What are the consequences?
Well,
Nothing.
I'm just telling
Just
you
less
what
money,
happened.
Just less money in the New Jersey
Okay.
account.
Yeah.
And does Brookline and Newton's police department have one of those 14-ton unexplosible or whatever they call them?
Humvees or whatever.
I have no
Armored
idea.
Humvee.
They're as big as this room.
Really?
Yeah.
Are
And
you sure?
Well, if one of these IED roadside bombs goes off,
Yeah.
it might knock this thing over, but the people will be okay inside.
Okay.
It's a huge vehicle, very heavily
I
armored.
have not seen it.
Anyway, they have thousands of them, and apparently the Army is now giving them to local police departments.
That's the point.
Well, okay. That's
Right.
okay.
Now you see
Michael-
Brookline,
There
I
we
think we haven't seen them
Michael
yet.
Okay.
contends that they're giving them to them complete with all the machine guns mounted and everything else, that
Everything,
they're
yeah.
war
Hey,
vehicles.
why
All
not?
kinds of, they're throwing in some grenades and other things. Whatever they got extra, they're packing.
Ladies and gentlemen,
All right,
do not
then.
necessarily believe whatever
No.
you hear on the Fun Show.
Okay, all
Remember, our title is The Fun Show. We are not the news.
Okay.
Yes, please do not forget that fact.
And
Of course,
Donald,
anything I say is true. Just grain
Donald
of salt.
Sterling. Don't forget Donald Sterling.
Donald Sterling.
Yeah.
Donald
He
Sterling.
says he's not selling
Oh,
for
for
$2 billion
goodness sake.
unless the NBA rescinds the $2.5 million fine.
Well, if I was the NBA and I had a smart lawyer, I wouldn't let him sell his team. I just wouldn't let his team play in the NBA.
Well, that's another story.
He'd be stuck with all those contracts and no way
Yeah.
to make money. And instead of getting $2 billion for being a racist jackass, he would be broke and on the hook for a bunch of multi-million-dollar salaries.
I would feel bad for the players under those circumstances, though.
Well, I
they-
hope
I mean, if they couldn't play, I mean, your team is now defunct. Now, if they got their money from their contracts and were able to just go on,
The guy who complains about getting $16 million and not being able to play is probably a guy I want on my team. You know,
there's
I
got to
don't-
be that guy out
I don't
there.
think there would be too many of
You
them.
don't think so?
No.
You don't think they love to play basketball?
No, they don't look like they love to play basketball.
Well, I hate to
I
bring
don't
it up, but
know.
Japan has the cheapest small car that they're selling to everybody in Japan.
You
Oh, yeah.
hate to bring
It's
this
very
up?
cheap.
Is it,
Yeah,
is it
because
small?
but here's the crazy part of this story, that the Japanese government is against this and wants to shut this manufacturing in Japan. Stop it,
Why?
because they want the big cars to be sold by all their big companies.
Why?
Well, sell their big
the
cars
big cars
here.
we pay more taxes on everything, you know.
Let them sell their big cars here.
Don't
That's
they
what they're-
already?
That's what
They
they've
are
been do-
selling them
That's
there,
what they've been
okay.
doing
Every
since
time I see one of those-
1957, you know.
And every
Okay.
time I see one of those little tiny cars go by, I'm disturbed. So I don't, there's only,
You are?
it can only get so much
You
smaller.
don't like smart cars?
I'm
always
uncomfortable with them,
I always
actually.
liked standing on my daughter's balcony in Berlin and looking down in the street, and you'd see a parking space, and there'd be two smart cars parked nose into the curb in one space, because two smart cars only took one parking space, and they could park nose into the curb, and their tail was still within the parking space.
Wow.
That's how big these cars are.
That is
That
just,
was cool.
I don't know, I need
Ladies
more
and-
car. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. We're
Okay,
it's
go on.
thespian
You need a
time.
big car to
I need
protect
it.
you?
Yeah, I need a big car.
Yeah, you got
It's
a
like
nice
my mother
car.
always wished she was driving a tank. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Big TV Unrehearsed Thespian Society's presentation for tonight. Having been grossly overlooked for a Tony Award all these years, we have gone to the top of the pile in the vault to bring you another classic, and this one is entitled Expectations.
Expectation. I'm blushing. Okay, expectation. All
Look,
right.
when do I know enough to get by?
All the time.
That's the first line, folks.
Expectations.
Don't sit there looking dumbstruck.
Start again. Okay.
Neither one of us caught that.
Action.
Why?
Action.
When do I know enough to get by?
Why?
When you're ready, I suppose.
Yeah, well, Horace was like that.
He left school when his dad left.
Yeah, but his sister stayed in school
Didn't he get a warehouse job?
at Longville's.
Stayed there for years.
The girls went to college.
His ma worked too.
They were good people.
Horace drank a bit.
So do we.
Ah,
Gulp.
But he soldiered on.
married that Morrissey woman.
Didn't Horace go into the Marines?
Yeah, but his ma got him a discharge.
Family hardship. Honorable.
Yeah, but Laura Longville's took him back.
Yeah, he still lost his pals in Vietnam.
So,
So he made a life without much education.
But he knew a lot.
always reading the papers.
In the pub one day, he asks about free markets.
Pinky says, just fill up your shopping cart.
And he says, what about all this outsourcing stuff?
And Pinky says he likes sources on his salad.
Oh, God. Then Horace says, okay, Smarty, what's chapter 11?
And Pinky replies, it's after chapter 10.
That Pinky was a wise character. You know, speaking of that, Longville's in chapter 11 now.
I see. Downsizing, I guess.
And he's been there almost 35 years.
Runs the shipping room.
He can retire, for heaven's sake.
Apparently, the bosses phonied up the books.
The pension money's gone too.
But it was a solid business.
Yeah, that's what we all thought.
Everybody laid off?
Horace and his family?
Same thing.
Except he doesn't take off?
So his struggle just begins again.
Well, it's not easy to find steady work.
And look, he's in his 50s.
And on the dole, as they say in England.
Oh, redundant,
The guy hates standing in line for a check.
One of his kids get picked up for car theft.
And of course, Horace stands by the boy
Gets him back in school.
I see them with a pushcart.
at all the public events.
Sports, parades.
The doctor works at this fast food place.
And then, wouldn't you know it, his wife comes down with a cancer.
Would finishing college have made much of a difference?
Yeah, sure.
What if he'd been zapped by the Viet Cong?
His son is enlisting in the Marines.
I tell you, rich or poor, it's better to be rich.
Class warfare?
Life flows along.
Yeah, and sometimes it gets stormy.
You gotta be able to swim.
So are we ready for old age?
Hey, I'll never be old.
That's how I feel.
Comedy's great. Get serious.
No. Just keep laughing.
And forget about infirmity?
Greenspan says we can expect less.
Yeah, what does he know?
Somebody has to make decisions
Anyway, he's already old.
and financially secure.
Not like Horace.
No umbrella for rainy days.
A little suffering is good for the soul.
Amen, sister. But then what?
Horace's wife dies.
He comes down with Alzheimer's.
He ends up on the street.
Yeah, but he's got great kids.
There's the social service agents.
Well, the prognosis is poor.
And no happy ending?
Do I look like I'm laughing?
Blackout.
Blackout. That was so sad.
Yes, a sad one.
Sometimes we have to have a
It
sad
can't all
one.
be comedy, folks.
That's
Every once in a
right.
while, it has to be a little drama.
Poor
A little
Horace.
drama. Listen, you got only one more week to find a copy of the petition to get repeal of the casino law on the ballot. So
One more week.
if anybody asks you to sign a copy of the petition, they already signed they had their original signatures, and then they had their problem with Martha, and now they have to.
Martha, tonight I saw on television that she's 44 points to his 14 points. Your friend who you
I don't know who they're polling.
I
They're
don't know.
certainly not polling in Brookline.
What's going to
Noted.
happen at the convention?
Well, we'll see, won't we? That's next week.
I can't
Where's the
believe-
convention?
Well, I don't see these people at all locally.
I'm
Do you ever
planning to-
see any of them?
I don't see
I'm
anybody.
planning to go, and I can't answer
Can't
that
answer that question. I was waiting for him like it was silence.
It's either
Where's the answer?
Springfield or Worcester.
Okay.
Probably Worcester.
Probably
Okay.
Worcester.
They usually tend to be in Worcester or Lowell.
How many
But-
people usually attend these things?
Oh, 700 or 800, I guess, something
That's a
like
good,
that.
good number of people.
Anyway, we'll see.
But are you in favor or against the casinos? How do you feel about
I
that?
feel like I answer this question all the time.
I know, but
Well, you do.
But
That's
people
one
keep
of our
changing.
regulars.
I
People
just-
keep changing their minds
Oh
about
my
it.
goodness.
Actually, according to the poll released today,
Mr. Crosby?
Massachusetts has changed its mind.
Really?
Yeah.
We're
Yes.
tired of hearing about it.
The significant majority of Massachusetts citizens now oppose
That's right, and that's
casinos.
because we're tired of hearing about it.
And, well, it's that and the
I was in
fact that
favor
we're
for a
paying a
long
guy to be chairman of a gaming commission who
Hot shot
who
Crosby.
announced that he can't do the job,
Yes, I remember this.
and yet he's taking the money and keeping the job. This kind of, and we're getting this before anybody's even been given a license, which should give people pause.
Yes.
Pause.
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 Yes.
Well, in Houston, there's a Texas national gas company that wants to build a pipeline from Springfield actually on the border of New York State, all the way through to our East Coast for gas.
Why
The
from
fracking
why
gas?
from New York?
Natural gas?
Well, it's near Springfield, the town Richmond on the
It's a
border.
fracking belt that goes.
Fracking.
The
fracking
belt
gas.
goes
Yeah,
down from New
Pennsylvania,
York.
New York,
Exactly,
Fracking.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, well,
They
and-
wanna
That's why-
send it
that's
to
why the
us
area.
here.
Anything that encourages fracking, I'm against.
I'm against that too.
I'm
Yes,
not down with
yes.
fracking either.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm
well,
all about renewable energy.
There was a guy whose name was Morris Adelman.
You know where most electricity in the United States comes from still? Coal.
Really? Still?
50% of our
Well, at least it's not
50%
100%.
50% of our electricity still comes from the dirtiest possible source.
But they could
ridiculous.
clean it up when they put it through
They
the
kept
plant.
saying that scrubbers,
Yeah,
clean coal,
They could do that. They don't want to do it.
anthracite.
Too expensive.
Well, I don't know.
Everything's too expensive.
Well, it wouldn't make much difference to us. It would just be whether the 1% had a little less in their pocket.
Well, that's about it.
Touche.
But I don't like those big pools of water next to these mines, with all that poison in
The
them.
slurry and stuff that
Yeah,
occasionally
yeah.
breaks through and ends up in the water
And
supply.
it does
Yeah.
ends up in rivers and lakes.
And in West Virginia, they say, tastes like money.
that's about
That's just
and
awful.
while they're lying in bed with cancer or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Tastes like money.
Terrible. Well, this guy Morris Adelman, who's
Oh, another wonderful human being.
an MIT economist who died recently, by the way, in his 90s.
Okay.
And he is an authority on world oil supply, and he says
Said.
it ain't running out. Morris said. But
We ain't running out.
We're not running out of oil.
A, he's dead, right?
Right.
Yes.
B, he may have said we're not running out in my lifetime.
Yeah.
He didn't say that. He
Yeah.
said, in your lifetime too, he said. Okay.
Morris, You're wrong.
I hope you're right. Oh,
No, we need to use renewable energy. This whole thing has to change.
Actually, you know, when I was having a discussion with my nephew the other day about what cities in America are staying alive and which ones are dying, and the necessity of greatly reducing the size of Detroit and one thing and another. And we decided that we know when cities will have their major revitalization in America, and that's when the oil runs out.
when the oil runs out.
When the oil runs out. If, in fact, we can get companies to put the jobs back in the cities. Otherwise, we'll just get new cities gathered around where the jobs are now. But the thing is, cities grew because people needed to be close to their work,
Yep.
right? I mean, you couldn't commute 30 or 40 miles in the 19th century, you know? So they built row houses so everybody was marginally closer to the center of things. When the gas runs out, cities will come back.
I hate to bring this up, but the Islamic extremists in many Birmingham, England schools.
They have a union, you know, Islamic Extremists Incorporated. you know.
Yes.
They're trying.
And he hates to bring it
They're
up.
trying to take over the curriculum and the teaching, and it's leading to all kinds of propaganda for the kids on radical violence and stuff like that. Anyways, there's a big debate in Parliament about this. The Secretary of Education and the Secretary of the Home Office.
It sounds exactly the same as Texas.
Yes,
Only
it
it's
does.
the Christian extremists in Texas.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'll get off of that and I'll talk about the Italian Navy.
No, it's interesting because, you know, the Christians are trying to take over the brainwashing of America's children through the education system. And apparently, the Muslims in England read about that and decided they'd give it a shot.
Clearly, it's a viable technique. Hey, did they ever find those missing girls that were kidnapped?
Actually, it's very strange. They say they found them, but they don't know how to recover
They
them.
don't know how to recover them.
Yeah. They claim to now know where they are, but
Really?
they can't figure out a
But
way
if
to go in
America
and
wants
grab
to
them.
send SEAL teams in, that would help, I guess.
I would say that also if they were American children, we sure as heck would find a way to get them out of there.
I don't know. There's so many of them that a SEAL team would have a hard time not having heavy casualties among them.
Oh.
I'd say so.
Well,
You
they're
know,
also split up, right?
Good night,
Irene. Good night, Irene. Irene, good night.
She's good.
Irene, good night. We'll see you in our dreams. Good night, Irene. Good night, everybody, from the Fun Show here at Big TV. We will see you same time, same channel next week here at Big TV in Brookline,
And
Massachusetts.
If you're a caller next week, you get a dozen stale donuts.
Say the secret word and
I
get
didn't even know I would
$100.
get anything.
That's next week.
Next week.
Good night,
okay.
ladies and gentlemen.